A bison's massive shadow is charging straight at you, so close its breath drowns out your own scream. The ground shudders under your feet. This will happen, but not yet. Right now, you haven't even been born. You open your eyes for the first time. Cold. The cave walls are wet with frost. You're wrapped in a hide, still warm from the body that just wore it. The clan watches you in silence, not with tenderness, but with calculation. Will you make it through the first winter? You survive the first winter, and the second. And winter here isn't a season, it's a ruler. It decides where the herds go, when the rivers lock under ice, how far a child can walk without crying, and how still the old can sit. Your whole world is 20 people, a fire that never goes out, and a smell of smoke that sinks into your body forever. There are no strangers here. There is only the clan and everything outside it. Meat by the fire isn't the only food. The women and children of the clan go out when the snow melts. Nuts, roots, berries, sometimes shellfish from the cold river. It's less dramatic than a hunt, but it's what keeps the youngest children alive between the big kills. Once or twice a year, your relatives meet another clan of people, just like you, during the seasonal migration, on a riverbank or on a neighboring ridge. Sometimes a young woman from the clan would disappear, and another would take her place. Groups here are small and scattered across an enormous stretch of ice, and meeting your own kind is rare, not routine. The clan's children play at hunting long before they're given a real spear, chasing each other with sticks, pretending to drive an imaginary animal into an imaginary ravine. The older boys show the younger ones what they saw on the hunt. Play is simply how the body prepares itself for what's waiting for it. Your mother teaches you to tell plants apart long before you can go out for them yourself. These berries are safe. These leaves aren't. This root is sweet. That one will kill you in a single night. A mistake here doesn't get a second chance. Knowledge that saves your life isn't passed down in a book. It's passed down by a mother's hand, pulling yours away from the wrong plant. Not every child in the clan lives to your age. That spring, the smaller child you shared the fire and games with stops waking up one morning. No one explains what happened to you in words. One day the cave is just a little quieter, and the clan never speaks of it again. You're about 12 years old, and they take you along for the first time. Not to play, to watch. The adults get close enough to a mammoth that you can hear it breathing. Spears in hand, hearts in throats. Now you know where the meat by the fire comes from. This time something goes wrong. The animal turns faster than they calculated. One of the hunters goes down. A broken arm, a shorter scream than you expected. No kill. The clan comes back empty-handed, with one man wounded. For the first time you understand, adulthood here means betting your own body. The wounded hunter isn't left alone. The clan feeds him, cleans his wound, keeps him by the warmest part of the fire for weeks until the bone sets. This isn't the picture of wild animals that abandon the weak. These are people who know. Today it's him hurt. Tomorrow it could be you. A wound doesn't always heal clean. On the wounded hunter, it starts to fester and burn through his whole body. And there's nothing but clean water, herbs, and time to stop it. Some survive the fever, some don't. The clan does everything it knows how to do, and then simply waits to see what the body decides. Your body doesn't wait. Your teeth, bones, and muscles mature faster than the children of other peoples who will come after you, tens of thousands of years from now. For them, childhood is years of carefree time. For you, it's a short rehearsal before becoming a real hunter. One day, you see your own reflection in a still puddle. Heavy brow ridges, a broad chest, a strong body built to hold heat, not to look a certain way. You don't know that thousands of generations from now, someone will call this face ugly. To you, it's simply the only face you have. In the harshest cold, air cuts your lungs if you breathe through your mouth. So you breathe through your nose. A wide nose that manages to warm the air before it reaches your chest. It isn't just the shape of a face. It's one more way your own body fights to keep you alive. They start teaching you, not hunting, not yet. First, how to knap flint so the edge cuts instead of crumbling. How to coax a fire back to life from a smoldering coal. How to stretch a hide so it doesn't stiffen in the cold. Every motion is one more chance to survive to next winter. A spear point doesn't stay on its shaft by itself. It's fixed with heated pine resin, then wrapped tight with sinew until it sets hard as one solid piece. One bad knot and the spear comes apart at the moment of the throw, exactly when it's needed most. Clothes here aren't sewn with a needle. That hasn't been invented yet. Hide is worked with a scraper, punched through with a bone awl, bound with strips of sinew. It's slow, it's awkward, but a wet hide in the cold is death, so every seam here matters more than it looks like it should. One evening, a storm rolls in with wet snow. The clan brings every hide under shelter and dries them by the fire, taking turns all night without sleep. A soaked hide that stiffens in the cold is death for whoever wears it. Here, the one rule of winter is simple: stay dry, whatever it costs. The clan follows the game. One direction of the valley, then another, depending on the season. One evening, an old hunter shows you an eagle's talon, worked smooth and pierced for a cord. Not for food, not for defense, just because it's beautiful. You don't have a word for this feeling, but you have the feeling. When the clan moves to a new place, the fire moves with it. Not a new one, the same one, carried inside a smoldering coal, wrapped in bark and moss. You can start a new fire by friction, but it's slow and doesn't always work the first time. It's simpler to just never let the old fire die on the way. That same winter, the clan buries one of the older women, not just leaving the body, but placing it in a shallow pit, knees drawn up to the chest. No one explains why to you. You just see, even here, where every day is about survival, there's room for something that neither feeds nor warms. That same winter, someone in the clan grinds a piece of red ochre on a flat stone and streaks it across their own skin before stepping out to face the day. It isn't camouflage from prey. None of you actually know why it's done, but the clan does it again and again, winter after winter. The valley the clan moves through isn't a green plain from a picture. It's cold steppe at the edge of the ice, low grass, scrub, and the huge, distant shapes of mammoths and woolly rhinos. Your home isn't a cozy forest. It's an open, windswept, endless edge of ice. The cave the clan wants to take for the winter already smells of another animal, a cave lion or hyena that used this place before. Good shelter here isn't only fought over between people. It's people against everything else that also wants to survive the cold under the same stone roof. Now it's your turn to hunt alongside the adults, not to watch, but to run in the drive. The clan drives a bison with shouting and fire along the ravine to where the slope narrows so tight the animal has nowhere left to turn. Your feet know every stone under the snow. You've run this path in play dozens of times, back when you held an ordinary stick instead of a spear. The bison turns, though it wasn't supposed to. A massive shadow is charging straight at you, so close you feel the ground's vibration in your own legs. You understand, this is the end. You manage to roll clear, not from skill, but from the panic of a body that wants to live. An experienced hunter's spear drives into the bison's side at the same instant, and the huge animal falls. The party gets a month's worth of meat, but something hot catches your arm at the last moment. A sharp stone on the ground. The wound will heal. The clan washes it and binds it with a strip of hide before sunset. The scar won't. It will stay, the same way every other scar on every adult in the clan stays. A quiet proof that this time, you survived. When the clan decides where to move next season, no one gives orders. The one who speaks is the one who has lived longest and seen the most. Not because he holds a title, but because his judgment has already saved the clan before. Here, power is memory of who was right last time. There are no books, no marks on stone where you could write down exactly how to drive a mammoth into the mud. There's only an old hunter by the fire, telling it out loud, in the same words it was told to him. The clan's memory is the only library that exists here. You don't bring down a mammoth with a spear to the forehead. The clan drives it with shouting and fire, not to kill it, but to a trap. A narrow ravine where ice and mud hold its legs tighter than any hunter could. The animal falls into the mud on its own. Only then do the spears come out. One mammoth is meat for a whole winter, hide for shelter walls, bone for new tools. That same night, hyenas come too close to the cave entrance, drawn by the smell of fresh meat. The clan drives them off with shouting, fire, and a hail of stones. Not out of greed, but because losing this kill now means a starving winter for everyone. The victory over the mammoth isn't finished until the meat is safe. At the edge of the hunting grounds, the clan spots strangers, taller, leaner, with faces unlike anyone in your own. These are Cro-Magnons. They don't attack. The clan doesn't approach either. Just two groups of people watching each other across the valley, then turning away, each back toward their own side. This year's winter won't end. Game grows scarce. The clan's youngest child has been coughing for weeks and isn't getting better. You're no longer the one who just watches. Now they expect you to bring food too. In the middle of that same hungry month, a small family in the clan dies of illness, leaving only a child too young to survive alone. The clan doesn't leave her behind. Another family takes her in, shares what little is left without a single question of whether it's worth it. Here, an orphan is simply one more mouth the clan feeds. The clan's most experienced hunter leads the last party of this hungry month. After a wounded and therefore unpredictably dangerous male rhinoceros, there's a kill. There's no him. You've just lost the man who taught you everything. Count your scars. On your arm, on your ribs, on the leg you broke 2 winters ago. Every adult hunter in the clan has the same body, a map of old fractures and healed wounds. This isn't failure. It's simply the price for the meat by the fire, paid by every generation. There's only one person in the clan older than 35 winters, a white-haired woman who can barely walk anymore. Everyone else you've known didn't make it that far. Living to old age here isn't the natural order of things. It's the rarest victory there is. Next time, you lead the party. Without him, every move he taught you is now your own. Mammoth meat comes back to the clan, and the clan survives the winter. By the fire, once the danger has finally passed, they hang that same eagle's talon around your neck. Now it will always be with you, the same as the scar on your arm. And that same night, the clan's elders notice the first signs. Next winter will be longer than this one. That same evening, the clan's smallest child babbles something right into your ear, and you answer, with sounds, gestures, a look that means more than any word. Is this language? Scientists 50,000 years from now still won't fully agree, but the child understands you. That's enough. You can't explain why the clan buries its dead, streaks ochre on skin, and keeps an eagle's talon that feeds no one and warms nothing. You only know. No animal you've ever seen does this. Whatever it is, it's what makes the clan a clan, not just a pack of bodies by a fire. Years pass. Your arm carries an old scar, your neck an eagle's talon. And one winter morning you look at a new infant of the clan the same way they once looked at you, in silence, with the same calculation, wondering if it will make it through the first winter. 50,000 years from now, someone else will decode the traces of your line in themselves and never notice how much of you is left in them.